So let's jump into harvesting. So farmers decide to go ahead and proceed. Now what? Let's talk about the planting and the harvesting. We can start with planting and kind of move our way through. But anybody want to jump in? Feel free.
Well, planting, if you're planting for grain solely, as opposed to grain and fiber as a dual crop, your spacing of your plants needs to be different, because you need, if you're growing for the grain, you want the grain heads to grow out instead of up a little bit more, and they don't grow as high. And that's, I guess, leads into the cultivation side of it. So what we have when we grow the grain is that, and as a dual purpose, when you grow the taller you get, the harder it is to harvest, because of those combine heads that harvest that grain can only go so high. And as I mentioned, I know that there are some companies out there, some publicly traded companies. You probably think of who they are, but they are coming out with some of those advanced grain harvesting pieces of equipment.
Yep. I can add from experience. Again, when we brought our state to the table, I was all about fiber and grain. I thought that was what was next. But we actually grew for grain our first year out because it seemed to be the most plug and play. We actually took peanut trailers. That was our quick solution to dry the hemp directly out of the field. So my experience with that year and that harvest was that it's not like anything else that you touch. Mostly we're looking for corn and soybeans to be bone dry. You snap between your fingers. Hemp is not that way. It'll be partly green. It matures at different levels up and down the top of the plant head. So you'll be putting some pretty tough material through your combine. We were told at that time that walking floor combines, John Deere 9500 series, had the least amount of wear and tear, and wrapping rolling parts, as opposed to the rotaries. So we used those and they worked just fine. That's a 20-plus-year-old combine, and we didn't have any trouble at all. I drug that thing all over North Carolina, picking 28, making all the money you could imagine. But I can say that it's going to be a little unique to what other crops you're used to. You're not going to want to go out there when you have to get the most of the crop. If you do let it go too dry, a stiff wind will put it on the ground and it'll be dog food. So it's definitely something to learn, but we had a chance to go visit the seed stock farms in France where they actually grow the certified seed that we sell here in the States. And they got it dialed in. And so we're not far away. Farmers are not different. The same farmer, I went to that farm in France, is a little bit different tractors, but they're just the same people. And they are very open to share exactly what they do. So we've got all that information at our disposal. So when the time comes, you're just going to want to make sure that you do your homework, and then you're going to make sure you dry it down out of the field, because it is a soft, oily seed crop, and it'll take heat in a minute. So if you have your handling in mind before you plant the crop, you'll be fine with it. But the biggest thing is put some air on it, get it down to a certain moisture level so that it doesn't take heat, and then you can properly store it. That, and also belts versus augers. If you have a decision and you have an option, choose belt conveyors versus auger conveyors for that same reason. There's augers you can get a little bit lost with the seed getting crushed.
What's the ideal moisture for the grain?
15% comes to mind. I think it's a little bit lower than that. I think I remember a 10 to 15% range. You can't dry it down too far, but that's probably a close one. I mean, I could just be saying that because that's what corn and soybeans is, but it's probably not far.
Have you used a conventional grain dryer?
Have I?
Yeah, or have you ever seen that before?
Oh yeah, Canada is the go-to. They do it like nobody else does it. Because they're kind of halfway. I'm halfway. You guys are halfway between them and myself. Or basically, they have already put that infrastructure in. Over 20 years they've been at this, and we got that information from a Canadian seed company, and he told us the dryers. They've got the they got the conveyor, everything they have has belts. So I'm not sure about conventional grain dryer, but at the end of the day, it's just it's heat and air. So maybe a stand aside system though, because it's going to conflict with likely your wheat, corn. It's going to come at the odd time of the year. That was a big hang up a lot of our farmers had. They said, we'll be doing something else, but it goes back to the money, that I can get that information, or Jarett can, but they lay it out, and it's like Manitoba Harvest, I think, is the website. I mean, they just give you the whole handbook.
Yeah.
I would also say USDA just came out with a really handy agronomy guide that covers all of these things. Purdue University has a really great hands-on guide that will answer these questions. And I feel like Cornell might also, and I'd be happy to share those with Jarett and Kelly, and then he can share them further. But yeah, all of the, there's a lot of things to cover. There's a lot of variables, there's a lot of variables. So I think that getting your hands on one of these guides would help tremendously, just kind of answer all those questions for you.